Hey guys, Gaia97 again. This time with a review of the 1/44 scale high-grade Gundam The Origin Zaku 2 High Mobility Type Black Tri-Star version Gaia and Mash Custom from the Gundam The Origin OVA series. So for colors, you got the typical black Tri-Star colors. We have some very dark blue for almost the entire machine, offset by some lavender on the arms, the chest, a few other minor pieces. Then we get 3 shades of gray. We have one very dark one, almost black for the bottom of the feet, top of the feet, the kneecaps. Then we have a kind of brownish gray for the joints, for the knees, the arms, and a few other minor pieces. And then we have normal gray for most of the accessories. And should be able to tell that, well, this one is slightly different than the normal gray. It just has that brown tinge to it. And finally, we of course have some white for the top of the legs and a few details on the legs right here. On the stickers, and fortunately, we don't get too many of them. Of course, we get one. For the mono eye, these two parts are stickers as well. Now, when we turn them around, this is definitely by far the worst sticker because, well, when you look at it from the side, that white part is still very much sticking out, and that is what this thruster sticker is supposed to cover up. But when we turn them around, we have some more white here that wraps around the thrusters. We have a very nice metallic red one for the sensor. And talking about very nice metallic ones, some very nice metallic for the scope and also for the scope of the giant gun. And these kinds of scopes look absolutely fantastic. Of course, we don't just get normal stickers, we also get clear marking stickers, and these are absolutely fantastic. Of course, we get the personal markings for either Gaia or Mash, number 2, number 3, the 3 stars, of course, and all these little lines that are supposed to go on the skirt armor, just to give it that more kind of MSV feel, a more detailed master grade like feel, and I really like what they gave us here. All kinds of little warnings, the Xeon symbols of course, and these marking stickers are absolutely fantastic. Talking about fantastic, let's immediately get on with the articulation. The head goes bit up, bit down, rotates around all the way, and has chicken movement backwards and forwards. And when we rip off the head, you will see that there is a slider in there, and that will of course move the mono eye left to right. And it's very easy to move even without the use of some kind of toothpicks. Just put that back on there, and that has been a problem of some of those little levers in there, that they were very hard to reach. And the arm turns out all the way. Now this is extremely cool. You have a triple joint forwards. First you have the ball joint that connects to the hinge joint. You have the hinge joint itself, and then the entire, well, this side of the body is also on its own hinge to give some really, really good forward movement. Of course, up on that ball joint and then on its own hinge all the way like that. This thing itself will of course rotate around, jiggle around. It's on a ball joint, double jointed elbows. Hand is also on a ball joint, will wiggle around, turn around, and do everything a ball joint does. And now there's also a hinge at the top there, so it does have a fair amount of movement, that shoulder armor. Then talking about a good amount of movement, even the chest has some very good joints in it. Forwards, backwards. The problem is, inside of the chest, that ball joint doesn't seem as solid as it should be, but you know, that can very easily be fixed. Rotates around all the way. And the legs go outwards very, very far. This is very nicely articulated, especially for Zaku. And they aren't always known for their articulation, especially these high mobility types. Legs rotate around all the way. Double jointed knees, and that is really the best you're gonna get for the high mobility types. Really love what they did with the knee joint itself. Very nice separation going on. And, well, that knee joint, even the master grade doesn't do it better than that, so And the feet go forward. Unfortunately, they didn't really incorporate the flipped joint. It does seem to move out a little bit, but that's really all you're going to get. Backwards, side to side as far as those thrusters will allow it, and we'll also rotate around a little bit. As expected, since it is a remold of the Char Zaku 2, the articulation on this thing is absolutely fantastic. With the only real problem being the knees, which is totally expected because it's a Zaku high mobility type, and not even the monster grades can do more than that. So really, they did an absolute great job on the articulation. And let's quickly go on with some more awesome stuff, the accessories. The first big thing this kit does is, of course, you have both Gaia and Mash's machines in this set. And really, it all boils down to which shoulder you want to use and which weapon you want to use. For Gaia's machine, you're going to get these two shoulder shields. And for Mash's machine, you're going to get the spike shield. Now, one kind of warning is that you don't get a spare polycap for this arm. So if you want to replace the shoulder, you're going to have to take the entire thing apart. It's not that big of a deal, but it is something to just keep in mind when you're building it. Let's put this aside. And then on to the second thing that made a difference, the weapons. First, for Gaia, we get the bazooka, and this thing is absolutely fantastic for a bazooka in high grade. First, we have the standard stuff, moving handle, moving scope, forward and backward on the normal handle. We get a trigger finger hand, and one thing about the bazooka is that it kind of teases us because there are pegs on both sides, which would kind of, you know, tell us that this kit would get a second left trigger finger. Yeah, don't hold your breath for that. And then the one really cool thing this bazooka does is removable ammo pack. That's definitely not something we see often on high-grade Universal Century machines. And this ammo pack is the same as all 4 ammo packs that mount on the shield. So, God forbid you would lose one of them, you can simply replace it with each and every one of them. And well, they have the 2 pegs there and peg into the shields very solidly. And now we have a complete Gaia high mobility type Zaku. Then for Mash's machine, we get the very impressive anti-ship rifle, which looks a hell of a lot like a sniper rifle if you ask me. And just like the bazooka, has pegs on both sides of the handle, and we also get a spare left hand in order to hold on to it. And there we go. And thanks to the fantastic, absolutely fantastic shoulder joints, he's going to have no problem posing with any of these 2 fantastic weapons. But that's not all that we're getting. We also get the usual Zaku 2 machine gun, and we get 2 extra ammo clips. One you can use, and then one you can store anywhere on the machine. You can store it on the side or even on the back. Let's quickly put in there we go. And then, of course, if you don't want to use this thing, you can also put that on the side, because these 2 magazines are identical. Just as with the bazooka, God forbid you would lose one of them, simply replace it with the other. Standard articulation on the thing, movable scope, and movable handle. But of course, that's still not all of the weapons. So we also get a heat hawk, and this is the stored version. You can very easily tell that because, well, there's a peg on one side. Simply put that in there. And then you have the normal one. This does not have a peg and also has an active blade. The one thing I'm not really sure about is how accurate this would be to the anime, because we have seen conflicting things on how the heat hawks and the heat swords work, because they're not really supposed to emit some kind of field, it just superheats the actual blade. But then of course we have the infamous animation error where the heat sword of the goof kind of pops out just the same way as a beam saber does. But whatever, that is a different discussion altogether. This thing, for a Heat Hawk, works absolutely great. You all know the biggest problem with Heat Hawks ain't happening here. Well, that's all for the weapons that we're getting, but as I've mentioned before, this thing is a remold of the Char Zaku 2, and that means that we get some spare parts that were also used with Char Zaku 2. We have white tops for the feet. We have, as you can see here, we have a lavender shoulder and a dark blue shoulder. Well, if you want, you can simply use 2 dark blue shoulders if you want them to look more uniform. Of course, we also get a normal head. And I know that technically all 3 of them should have normal heads, but let's face it, Gaia is their commander, so he should have a commander antenna. I'm not taking no for an answer. Then we have a very dark gray cockpit, so if you want to change that, go ahead. And we also get a lavender shoulder shield. Then for a few parts that we can't really use, we get 2 spare thrusters, and we also get this. Now this on Char Zaku 2 was actually meant to go onto the bazooka and then store it on the backpack, because Char Zaku had a hole in his backpack where it would go onto. Unfortunately, that hole here isn't present, so you could only store it like here, right where the thrusters are. That's probably not a great idea. And then the final accessory we get is an adapter for an action base right here. As always, the inevitable question is, do you want to buy this? No left trigger finger hand, no buy. Alright, back to all seriousness here. For 2,000 yen, it is definitely more on the expensive side, but considering everything we're getting with this machine, all of the customization options, all of the weapons, they totally make this thing worth it. I mean, just look at the play value this thing has. All of the different possibilities for your own little custom. And even putting all of that aside, this is probably one of the best Zaku 2s around. Well, except for Char Zaku 2 from the origin, because, well, knee joints. But this thing being a Zaku 2 high mobility type, that's the best it's going to get. So really, I can totally recommend getting this thing right now. And as seems to be kind of tradition with the Black TriStar Zakus, at least in high grade, the question isn't should you buy it, but how many should you buy? Because really, if you like the Zaku 2, or if you just like the Black TriStars, this thing is something you should totally own. And let's be honest, who doesn't like the Zaku 2 or the Black TriStars? So then, on to some size comparisons with this here mobile suit. First of all, let's put him next to some of the other Zakus from the Black TriStars, and there is absolutely no denying that this thing has the best articulation of the bunch. Now, which one looks the best? That is up for debate, because I don't know, but there's still something about the older Zaku 1 and the older Zaku 2 high mobility type that looks absolutely badass about them. But then again, it's the Black TriStars. What the hell do you want? And for the best price value, the original Zaku 1 is also a very good contender with its extremely low price of only 1,000 yen and also coming with a lot of accessories. Which absolutely doesn't take away from the awesomeness of this thing, but just goes to show how much the Black TriStars have been loved in model kit form, because really, it's very hard to choose which one of these you would want to go for. You can't really say one of these is the absolute best. They all have their own pros and their own cons. But this here mobile suit is definitely the best when it comes to just articulation. The newer high mobility type does seem to be quite a bit taller than the old one. I mean, just look at the size, at the height difference between the shields and then head difference. Yeah, they are quite different when it comes to size. And also, one thing I really like is that, you know, you might think that they're going to be extremely similar, but just when you look at the molds of these two high mobility types, they are completely and utterly different. I mean, yes, you can see that it's supposed to be the same machine, but every part is just so wildly different. That is also a really good reason to still get this, even though you have the original high mobility type, because they're so different. This is so much more detailed, whereas this is more streamlined and anime accurate. And then here is next to the always impressive Zaku 3 and the standard sized Gym Custom. And that's all for this review, and see you guys next time.